Hey, welcome to Revenue Search. It's me, Mark Rees, and my co-host, Siam Kid, and we're back with another installment of one of the most popular live streams in all of Bittensor. Today, this morning, depends where you are, I guess. This afternoon here, we're kicking off with. I think we've got to kick off with the elephant in the room because your name was on everybody's lips last night. What's going on? What's happening?
That's made it sound very dirty.
Well, I tried. As is every part of this show.
Yeah, I got we both got loads of DMs with pictures of texts of all sorts of subnet groups and stuff like that. So there was I don't know how to do this. Basically, there was rumors about us buying a subnet or being a new subnet, etc. And this wasn't part of the plan for people to hear this soon, if that makes sense. And like our North Star is always about transparency with Bittensor. Because crypto's full of shit. It's 99.99% bullshit. And you and I, we strongly believe that for Bittensor to really start, propelling up there, we need to sort of sort our shit out, as a community, and get rid of, the shady, anonymous people, all that sort of stuff. And so what's actually happened is that you and I, we know that marketing is like a very big thing. And so this is why, for those that may have followed me for a while, Subnet 16, last year, 12 months ago, was a thing called bit ads. And I was like, ooh, bit ads, yes. Because they was trying to incentivize miners for marketing and getting leads and stuff like that. And you can go on my YouTube. I was really trying to push them because I thought, marketing type subnet would be very beneficial to the ecosystem as a whole. Alas, first ads or bit ads or both of them, they didn't work. And another thing is that a lot of new subnets are OGs, doing lots of, another subnet, etc. And one of the things that, again, you and I both agree on is that we need fresh blood. We need fresh talent, fresh eyeballs, fresh money, fresh everything coming into Bittensor. And a couple of months ago, two people reached out to us and were like, hey, we have an idea. Now we get Zooms, God, 4 or 5 Zooms a day with random people. Anyway, for the last couple of months, we've been chatting with these two people who wanted to set up a subnet. And it's, I won't say too much, it's a marketing type subnet. So obviously this piqued our interest, and we're helping, helping them navigate the Bittensor type stuff and product market fit and all that sort of stuff. And quite recently, because they're now ready to launch, we helped them negotiate a subnet acquisition. So it happens that whoever was selling subnet 71, they had an intermediary. We were then the intermediary for this new team, and we helped negotiate the price, and we secured the slot for them. We're providing funding, so they have runway for 6 months, so they don't need to worry about anything else. They can just get their heads down, code, deliver, push. And the way I see us is that we're sort of like the little stabilizers on the bike, and then those stabilizers will be removed, if that makes sense, and then hopefully push them out. So so that's what's happened. So I guess, yes, we are. How would you, Mark? You're better with words. How would you describe us and that? And then how can we succinctly get on to the main topic of the day?
Well, let me just wrap it up. So yeah, I mean, the main point is transparency. You and I both felt really awkward last night because people are asking us questions, and frankly, it wasn't part of our plan to be answering those questions at that point. It's not our subnet. So it's for the subnet team to be in charge of the comms and the announcements and all of that roadmap. And I think when you're trying to get a subnet slot, you don't know when that's going to arrive, so you can't plan precisely, and then boom, it just falls into your lap. And we helped a little bit with that. And we are, if anybody knows us, we try and be as supportive as we can to anybody. Simon and I will take a call with anybody in this community, whether they haven't got a subnet, they have got a subnet, they're properly established, they're looking for funding, they're not looking for funding. We'll do it. And with these guys, we've been talking to them for a couple of months. We think they're going to be good. We're going to give them, as would anybody, all the support that DSV can offer. That includes some capital support. More than that, it includes having us helping them and making some introductions and giving them the support, those stabilisers that Siam talked about. But yeah, we just wanted to cover that off first thing really, because we both felt really awkward about it. No, we don't like lying. We don't like obfuscating. We don't like not being entirely transparent. We're not going to take loads of questions on this. I expect a full announcement from the Subnet team early next week. I just ask that you hang tight.
Yeah.
Wait for that announcement. That's about as much as we're going to say on it. On with the show. Who have you got in your digital green room today, Siam?
Well, not that.
They're still there. I said we'll be about 60 seconds on this first bit. We'll just cover off that, and then you're in. They might have gone for their dinner now.
So our guest today is Sam from Subnet 10, and Sam is someone that probably a lot of people have seen around Bittensor for a couple of years now. Like I've known of Sam for a long, long time, and today, literally, I don't know, 5 minutes ago, was the first time I've actually ever said hello to him in face to face. So this is pretty cool. And again, hands up, I've never bought Subnet 10, and it's because not because I don't like them or whatever. It's just there's so many to pick and choose. I just haven't had a chance to really get in, under the bonnet. So hopefully we can lift his skirt up and have a look. Whoa. Yeah, that came out wrong. You know what I mean?
Let him in. Let him
You-
in.
Hello. How's it going?
We're great. So apologies for the delay there. It's not as carefully scripted as we thought. But you're here now.
Yeah, no, not a problem at all. Yeah, great to be here.
Fantastic.
Lovely. And so before we go in, I think the key with understanding subnets is that a lot of the time, I'm guilty for this as well, is that we just go straight into, well, what do you do? What do you do? What is the incentive mechanism? What do the miners do? And I think we should probably go back to marketing 101, the basics, which is what is the problem? What is the challenge that is there? And yeah, so what challenge and problem are you facing, Sam, or SN10, which is now called Swap?
Yes, that's right. The principal problem that SN10 is addressing is making it easier to onboard new users to Bittensor and to Alpha. Excuse me. The first time you bought Alpha tokens was probably pretty challenging. It's challenging for most people. You have to download this new wallet, store this new mnemonic, find a way to get Tau. Maybe you go off of a centralized exchange. Maybe you try to use some bridge, but it can take hours for a new user, even one that's very familiar with crypto. And so that's really the fundamental problem, is how do we make it as easy as possible for new users that see these subnets, are super excited to buy them, to actually get exposure and to trade them without needing to go through this multi-process, hours-long process.
Amazing. Okay, and so I think there's a lot of confusion about this sort of bridge space, so to speak. We have all sorts of bridges that are being built at the moment. Which ecosystems do you bridge into?
Base, Solana, Ethereum mainnet, a handful of others. I would differentiate between the USDC bridge that we've deployed alongside Hyperlane and the Alpha Swap product that we've built, which is really what SN10 powers. I can go a little bit more in detail into that product if that sounds good.
Yeah, whatever you do.
So the way the product works is that, let's say you have Ethereum on Base, which is where we're live right now. That as part of the product, the Ethereum first gets swapped to USDC. The USDC is bridged to Bittensor EVM with that Hyperlane bridge I just mentioned. From there, it's swapped to Tau using our DEX pool, which is what SN10 powers, and I can talk more about that. Finally, that Tau is staked via the precompile. So OTF has released these precompiles that let you go from Tau to Alpha on Bittensor EVM. So that's the flow. What is really beautiful about this process is that it does not require a new wallet. You can do everything from your MetaMask and your Rabby, and it does not require Tau for gas. So all you need is some money in your wallet on Base with the existing tools you already know and love. And from there, you can buy Alpha tokens in a single click. A final benefit I'd add is that because we're using the actual liquidity pools, the canonical liquidity pools on Bittensor, we are not spinning up new liquidity pools for every subnet. So rather than having to create a new liquidity pool for shoots, we can tap into their existing $100 million pool, and that allows users to execute large trades without slippage.
Okay. And I guess let's take this backwards a little bit for those that are less crypto savvy. I guess from my understanding of bridges and whatnot is that imagine you have the token, let's say a subnet token. It can live and breathe in the world of Bittensor, but it cannot live and breathe in the atmosphere of, let's say, the Ethereum planet. So you put on a little spacesuit onto this token, and this spacesuit can help that token live on another planet, and that's why it's called a wrapped token. So Sam, if I had $1,000 of ETH in my MetaMask wallet, and I were to buy through Swap, would I then have wrapped shoots in my MetaMask?
So we operate a little bit differently than a conventional bridge. That's the way most products go after this. I philosophically disagree. I think it's a really bad idea to have wrapped tokens. One reason why is you need to build up new liquidity for every subnet if you do that. If you're just bridging alpha to base, let's say, now you need to build up new liquidity for that. And then it also presents all kinds of smart contract risks in that case. So rather than have users hold a synthetic asset, instead the real asset, the actual alpha token, is held in a smart contract on Bittensor itself, or on Bittensor EVM, but the asset's on Bittensor. That wallet is controlled by the user from base. So that's sort of the key distinction I would make, is that the user is not holding a synthetic asset. They instead are holding the real asset, but controlling it from a different chain.
Okay, and this is probably late in the day to ask. Do you have a picture of the flow by any chance?
No, not on hand. I guess to summarize though, the user is bridging USDC. So there is a bridged USDC going from base to Bittensor EVM, getting swapped to Tau. Tau gets staked via the.
Okay,
Those are the 3 steps.
lovely. So all of this attention is still pushing things through the LP of the subnet token.
That was
exactly what. And I think a lot of people have had or still have PTSD from the rebasing DAO times in the last bull market, where it was just nuts, and a lot of these bridges and all sorts got hacked or whatnot. So if someone still had that fear, what things can you say to allay those fears of this smart contract that lives on Bittensor?
Yeah, absolutely. So the smart contracts themselves have been audited multiple times. You can find them on docs.taufi.com. So yeah, you can look into those. I would say they're very lightweight because we haven't gone with this conventional wrap token route. And instead we're using this existing primitive. It's called an interchain account that lets you control assets on one chain using your wallet on another. And so, yeah, that's really been where we've tried to put the majority of our resources into security and into audits, and so making it safe. So yeah, I'd recommend that they take a look at the audits if they're interested in sort of understanding that interchain link.
Okay, and the alpha that you buy that's in this smart contract, it still appreciates with the APY?
Yes. Yep, that's exactly right. It gets staked to our validator, which gets child hotkeyed out.
Okay, and is there much slippage if I was to buy $1,000 of whatever? Is it what fees do you charge on top of this?
Yep. So the main source of slippage is the Tau USDC pool I mentioned earlier. And this is what SN10 powers. So I could get a little bit more into the subnet and the importance there. But the only fee that we charge is, well, one, there's a fee for swaps that go through that pool, like all Uniswap pools. And then there's also a 0.1% fee, which today we pay out entirely to referrers. So if you generate a referral link, someone uses that link, you get the entirety of that 0.1% fee.
Okay. Cool. And is there much volume going through your bridges or swap at the moment?
Yep. So we're doing about 1 to 2 million per day. on track to do about 50 million in volume this month. So that's been super, super exciting. Yeah, we've had like a pretty steady uptrend. Did about 30 million in volume last month, and then yeah, looking to just continue compounding that.
Wow. Is that primarily from Base or Ethereum or
Right now, entirely from Base. Yeah, right now. So this cross-chain swap product is only live on Base. We are very soon though going to be launching it on Ethereum mainnet, Solana, and it's very portable, so we can deploy this pretty easily elsewhere at this point.
Okay. And who are these people? That are they Bittensor people doing it, or are these fresh new eyeballs doing it? Do you think?
Yeah, so it's a good mix. We're hoping to get the product not just so today it's on our UI and like a handful of Bittensor native UIs, but the goal here is to get this on every possible product. So we don't necessarily want to be the front end. We don't want to be the only user interface where users can access this product. We want it to be in every single wallet for both Bittensor and for the EVM. We want it to be on every trading terminal, on every DEX. So that's like what we see the future of it as targeting, of course, both the Bittensor native front ends that we know and love, but also the EVM native front ends for users who are new to Bittensor and don't have a Bittensor wallet yet.
Cool. Yeah, it's interesting because what I had a prediction that came true, and I'm slightly annoyed it did come true. And like one of the reasons, like when there was a lot of chats of all these bridges going out, I said, you can wave a magic wand and the bridge is built. It's going to be a big nothing burger to begin with because you like yes, you need the infrastructure there, but there's no one crossing the bridges, and that you're not going to see much of an uptick in bridge activity, let's say, unless there's someone prodding or forcing or pulling brand new people over to Bittensor. And unfortunately, the main thing that's going to drive a lot of attention is if Tau goes from what 332 to 1,000 in like a month. All of a sudden, that's going to like get a lot of eyeballs. But yeah, and I guess that's probably where your main revenue will start spiking, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, right now, what we want is just the distribution in place so that when that happens, we're already integrated into the relevant wallets. But totally agree with you. I think that for people outside of Bittensor, there has been some interest, but the percent, of the way that we are there, it's so small right now.
Nice. And this is cool actually. I like how. So first of all, what is the website that I can connect my MetaMask to and go for it?
Yep. So it's taufi.com for just making swaps. On the subnet tab, you'll see we have a proper screener. And on the pool tab is where you can actually mine SN10 tokens. We haven't really talked about the subnet much, so I can get some more color there. So yeah, the subnet plays a very specific role in this process. I mentioned there's this Tau USDC pool, Uniswap pool on Bittensor EVM that all swaps flow through. So from every chain, every trade, every alpha token, they all flow through this pool in order to exchange USDC for Tau. In order for this exchange to happen in a way that minimizes slippage, users need to supply liquidity. They need to deposit USDC, Tau, or both to the pool so that they can be exchanged, easily and at a good rate for our users. And so in order to encourage this, the SN10 swap token is used as an incentive. So when you deposit your USDC or your Tau, you are automatically mining Subnet 10. You don't need to register as a miner. All you need to do is deposit, and you will earn both organic trading fees. So you'll earn USDC and Tau itself on top of your supply, but you'll also get SN10 token emissions too. And right now the APRs are really great. It's like 400%. They are even, yeah. So they're particularly good if you provide liquidity in range. Without going into like too much detail on Uniswap v3, you can select kind of at what price range you're providing liquidity, and ideally you want to provide it around the current price so that your liquidity will be used. The amount of emissions that you earn is directly proportional to how much your liquidity is used. So that's kind of the key if you want to optimize that.
Wow. And so 400 odd percent. So I guess the increased APY there is due to the fees that are being generated. And then
And that's yes.
so if DSV were to pop, I don't know, some USDC into your pool and it is 10% of the pool, does that mean we then just get 10% of the fees that the pool generates from the fees?
Yes, and then you also get 10% of all of the miner allocation as well for the SN10 token.
Oh shit. Okay. That's pretty cool. And like how much of the miner emissions do you burn?
None.
Ah, wow. Okay, so the miners get the full. And what? So how much have people stumped up in USDC to mine with you so far?
Yeah, it's hovered around $1 million in total deposits, both USDC and TAO.
So what's stopping like a whale just putting like, I don't know, 500,000 in and then sucking up most of that?
We're seeing more and more entrants. So it wouldn't surprise me if there's like a bit of an arms race that someone deposits that much and then another person comes in. Yeah, for a long time you had to register as a miner, and it was a very complex process. We spent a great deal of effort on simplifying that, and now I think that the process is really simple and straightforward. You don't have to register as a miner; it's purely a deposit. So yeah, I'm excited to see with that out there, and raising awareness what happens.
And again, this brings me back to the trust issue. If someone's going to pop 100 grand or 1 million into your pool, it's that safety. Like, so it, and that is the contract that's been audited by third parties, etc.
So this one is a generic Uniswap v3 contract, which is the most audited contract probably in crypto. So yeah, you can go. The contracts are verified on Tau Stats. You can copy and paste and verify that it's identical to the canonical one that's gone through a million different audits. So yeah, that one I think there's probably considerably lower smart contract risk for.
So I guess like from a risk to reward seesaw, and you're getting way more return by staking USDC than Tau en route. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I would say with respect to the risks and transparency there is the possibility that your Tau will get converted to USDC or that your USDC will get converted to Tau at the price range you supply liquidity for. Um, so yeah, if you're like, I really do not want to sell Tau at current prices, or I really do not want to buy Tau at current prices, then that's a risk that you should be wary of, because that can happen if someone buys or sells into your liquidity.
So yeah, so you get so you got impermanence loss.
Yes.
An issue. Okay. Mark, what do you think?
Well, it's just one of those simple businesses that anyone can understand. This doesn't need me to come in and messing around. No, we'll I'll have a go. So what we're saying really is that it's a little bit complicated to get your money into Bittensor, and especially complicated to get your money into subnets. And there's quite a few people that have had a go at that. There's plenty of holders, but there's an awful lot more people that have been holding crypto for a while. They've got MetaMask wallets. They've got wallets there. They've got crypto, and they kind of know their way around that massive ecosystem. And there's a barrier to them bringing that capital, that liquidity into Bittensor. So what you've done is you've made a backdoor. So rather than work it out for themselves and create a wallet, they can just attach their normal crypto wallet that's got their funds in, and they can still invest in, access Bittensor just easily, quickly, in the same way that they would any major crypto that they've invested in before.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly right.
And then your miners are the people who provide the liquidity into the pool that allows people to swap between those different tokens. And it's not a very complicated process. They put up their money, you use it or not use it, and they get the rewards, APY, and also Subnet 10 alpha tokens.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And you're doing well because you've got a lot of people using it. You've got $1 to $2 million a day of activity, and it's up from 30 million last month to 50 million this month.
Yeah. And I would add quickly, we haven't really talked about sort of the economics of the subnet and of alpha. So I can jump into that. We just announced this last week, actually, that we will be, or that we did, activate the fee switch on our Uniswap v3 deployment. What the fee switch does is it diverts some percent of the trading fees to us, essentially. And we set the fee switch to the maximum level, which sets 25% of all trading fees to us. And actually, what we did further is we diverted it instead to us to a smart contract that buys Subnet 10 tokens. So now going forward, and we just had our first buyback yesterday, 25% of all fees going through this pool, right? This pool that all alpha, all chains that they all route through. 25% of those fees will go to SN10.
Okay, yeah, that was my next question. Like, how do you back up your alpha with value, so to speak? Because if you have all these miners that are just parked a bunch of money, they get the APY and I was going to say sturdy token swapped your alpha. What's stopping them from just dumping it? So I guess that is your answer.
Yes, and we're working on other ways that the token can be integrated into the product and sort of gonna make it, there can be benefits for users, or we have other offerings too, like borrowing and lending. And so we're brainstorming that, and always welcome feedback as well over Discord. But to date, the big thing that we announced last week was, yes, using uh, the maximum sort of amount of revenue we can from the trading product, and putting that back into SN10.
Okay, so without like me wasting time on a calculator, like with with a typical business, you can always put it into like a few different categories. Like every business under the sun, you have income or revenue, you have COGS, so cost of goods sold or direct costs, and that leaves your GP, your gross profit. Then minus your OPEX, your operating expenditure, that leaves net profits. Then after the tax and stuff, then you've got distributable profits. So let's try and break swap was SN10 down into like those normal business metrics. So in terms of revenue or the income bit, what does that look like at the moment as dollars per month?
So it's 30,000.
About $30,000 a month in fees and all that. Ah, that's pretty cool. And then how many in your team? Like, what are your? Oh, in fact, there's not that many direct costs, I guess, with this. So let's skip forward to the OPEX. Like, how many is in your team? Like, what are your monthly outgoings? Rent,
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say that we're putting right now the entirety of that revenue from the DEX pool into SN10. So there's no like financial gimmicks where it's like, oh, we're putting the profit in and we're taking out this much. What There's a smart contract directly that connects 25%, and like you can verify it, that all of the fees that are being collected by the fee switch and Uniswap are going directly into Subnet 10. We have there are some other ways that we can monetize this product with yield, and so I mentioned we're running our validator, and like different ways that we can keep the lights on. But yeah, that today is like where we're at.
But like, do you have any staff? Like, how many in the SN10 team?
Yeah, so we have 5 people that I would say are like full-time dedicated to it. And then we have some people that are like, it's sort of hard to differentiate because we also have people that are working on Tau-Fi, but not the SN10 part. So that's like, I guess I would say SN10. There are some people, for example, working on the lending and borrowing product that I'm not counting in that calculation. There are some people that are working on the subnet screener we've built that I'm not counting in that figure as well. So it is a little bit tricky because Tau-Fi is more than SN10. There's other products that we have, but yeah, that's just for the SN10 side.
Okay, so let's break it down a little bit more. I guess with a subnet, it's a little bit more complicated because you really have 2 milestones. You have your monthly outgoing, your salaries, your rent, rates, utilities, all that sort of stuff. And then when your real world revenue matches your OPEX, that's a nice milestone because all of a sudden you're not burning cash and your runway is technically infinite. Well, not infinite, but you know what I mean. And then the next milestone is, can we offset all miner emissions with real world revenue? So I guess what I'm trying to ask is, you've got $30,000 a month coming in. Like, how much, if you've got 5 odd people, like, what is your OPEX? Like 30 grand a month as well?
It's higher than that. So yeah, we we have other like revenue from other products, like I mentioned, the borrow product and from yield. But those I just want to be careful and like not representing that as part of SN10 because they're not part of SN10. And so that, yeah, I just want to be clear about that
Uh,
part of it.
And 25% of the 30K a month, that's going into buybacks.
No, 30K a month is after the 25%. We're making the total fee amount is 150,000 per month, more or less, or it'll be slightly less than that probably, but about 150,000 per month. And I already took it's 25% of that was going buybacks.
Now a month already.
Yeah, so we're that's what we're on track for this month. So yeah, it's been super exciting. The city can monitor it. Yeah, it's interesting. The volatility helps a lot. That's when you see the most swaps actually. So it's, obviously better to see volatility up, but right now it's kind of in both directions. Um, yeah, and so that we hit like this has been a great acceleration because the last 2 months, and we just announced this, we hit 150,000 in fees cumulative, and now we're on track to do that this month. So it is accelerating. Um, And yeah, we're expecting to continue to see that as we get this product into more places. Right now, there aren't that many user interfaces besides our own where you can access this, but the goal is to get this in every front end and every wallet.
Well, blimey. And I guess what crypto has already shown us through 2 recent bull markets is that it's the Uniswaps, the Aves, the DeFi type stuff that is is the resilient cockroach. Not that cockroach is bad terminology. Is the resilient thing that doesn't die, if that makes sense. Um, so yeah, I guess even in a bear market or a detail bear market, you're still going to be generating those feeds. Um, so from a general investor perspective, one thing which I think would be pretty cool is that having like a like for like comparison between swapping your Tether or USDC into Tau, let's say on Mexi, because with Mexi you can see the order book and how much slippage you're going to have, or if you've got 100 grand that you want to buy on Mexi, it means you're going to bid the price up to like X amount. It would be cool to see $100,000 or let's say $50,000 going through Mexi this at a price, and this is how much Tau you'd end up with, compared to $50,000 or USDC through your bridge, and then how much Tau you'd end up with. I mean, off the top of your head, do you know what the rough sort of comparison would be?
Yeah, I mean, our bridge, or I don't even want to call it, but our trading product is really for acquiring alpha more than it is Tau. My guess is that and I just get it, offhand, I think it's probably less liquid than that most centralized exchanges for Tau itself. But for alpha, of course, where there isn't a great alternative, it's yeah more liquid by default. And the with SN10, of course, it's getting more liquid every day, right? So we're constantly getting new miners, new users depositing their Tau and alpha. That in turn increases fees, which increases buybacks, which increases liquidity. So there's sort of a nice flywheel between volume that goes through the DEX and then the success of SN10.
I guess it's really going to help around Thanksgiving and Christmas, where everyone comes home, everyone tries to Tau pill their family, and then Aunt Doris wants to buy some ridges or something. It's going to be a lot easier for you to help your Aunt Doris with a MetaMask or Rabby wallet and getting that alpha than it is a Nova wallet or a Bittensor wallet of some sort. So
Yeah, it's funny. That's about 2 Thanksgivings back is when I found Bittensor. So
who Tau pilled you?
actually, no one. My background is like the intersection of AI and encryption. I was at Stanford studying CS, dropped out to kind of get in to DeFi in early 2022, late 2021. And so yeah, I've just like been interested in both crypto since then, obviously, but also for a very long time AI since 2019, really. And so yeah, that for me are just such a natural uh fit. Like looking at Bittensor, I thought pretty much all of the other AI themed crypto projects were vapor, and so to find one that was real and legit was just really exciting.
Nice. Mark, is someone calling you?
No.
Oh, no. I swear I just had a phone call. But awesome. So what's the plan then moving forward? What's the big vision for Spot?
Yes, we want to get every user and every front end, every wallet integrated with our trading product. So that way you can buy alpha from all of your dexes, all of your wallets, natively integrated into the wallet itself. So you don't even need to use a third party UI. Um, and then also getting it on every chain. So I mentioned right now today we're just on Base, but a lot of users aren't on Base. They might be on Solana or they might be on Ethereum mainnet. And so, yeah, that is really where I'd say we're at is just not, we don't want to be like the front end that owns this, that's responsible for, this solely the success of onboarding new users. We want to be the back end. We want to be the API and the smart contracts powering all of the front ends and all of the wallets.
Amazing. Mark, you've been awfully quiet this revenue search.
Yeah, like this is on the edge of my expertise, possibly slightly beyond the edge of my expertise. So I mean, I like the sound of the. I don't. I've got no real experience in what this business does and operating in those markets. So I don't really feel like I've got a lot to ask there. Things I like about it, obviously, it looks like it's bringing capital into Bittensor, which we like. We like that a lot. It looks like it's providing a good service for miners that are staking and providing liquidity, and they're getting much higher returns than they would elsewhere. My guess is that the people that are providing liquidity, that are miners, they haven't got real costs, so they're not going to be selling Subnet 10 alpha immediately to cover their operating expenses. If you can use your buyback mechanism and tell them that you are going to be supporting your alpha, then they're probably going to hold it, which is going to reduce your sell pressure, which means, and as Siam says repeatedly, if there's no sell pressure, then the token's only going to go one way. The token only going one way helps you with your emissions, which then makes it a lovely, virtuous, positive flywheel. So I like the sound of all of that. It's all been good for me.
So do you mind if I just wee in something of a negative question? Or
Yeah, go for it.
So, weird. What is wrong with me today? I'm thinking head in the gutter. So I remember I was just during all of this, I was trying to rack my brains of like, why have I not bought SN10 yet? And I remembered why. And thank you, Vito Corleone, who's just put this in because it reminded me of why. And for the last 8 months, I've said basically to anyone that I chat with details that I just naturally don't trust any buy token projects, and that's a very naive or very lazy opinion because obviously you can get clarification via digging in. But the immediate concern I've always had is where is your loyalty? Is it with your ERC20 token or is it with your subnet token? Because you got two kids there. Which is your favorite child, basically?
Yeah. So I guess the context here is I mentioned I founded a DeFi project in 2022. Originally, Subnet 10 was part of that. So Subnet 10 was doing something totally different. It was supporting a lending protocol on Ethereum. When DTAL came around, we were sort of not sure what to do for the reason you said, right? We had this governance token for a lending protocol, and now we have a separate token. And so we were like, this was not great. Or like I think one of the few teams that was like not opposed to DTAL, but thought that DTAL heavily fought against our sort of what our vision for the project was. Because they created this conflict you said, and I don't think any project can support two tokens at all, which is why we totally pivoted and decided, okay, from going forward, Subnet 10 and this other token on Ethereum, we're going to separate the two projects. And so that's why, in part, we have like TauFi, which is doing something totally separate. So yeah, I would say it's no longer like the two tokens have nothing to do with each other. They're not part of the same project. Swap, I think it's pretty clear what its focus is for Sturdy on Ethereum. That's like a lending protocol on Ethereum, which is obviously totally separate from what we're doing with onboarding users to Bittensor. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. It was, I think, for a long time, very challenging in the immediate aftermath post DTAL. We were not sure how to handle it. And they came to the conclusion that you did, that you cannot have one project with two tokens. It just doesn't make sense. And so that's why we've now totally rebranded, separated them. And at this point, yeah, they have no like common overlap, I guess.
So Sturdy is like Arvo then?
Yes.
Okay. And like of your, weekly hours of working, like how many hours a day or per week do you allocate to Sturdy?
Yeah, I mean, we are, well, I'd say this, like there are some new deployments for the Sturdy protocol itself, but it's immutable. Like you can't, the code cannot be changed, and it takes a governance vote to create a new version of the protocol. So yeah, like there's been some work done. For example, we recently deployed the protocol on Bittensor EVM, which was exciting. And like there's some marketing stuff, but yeah, there's not like a ton that can be done for the protocol without the governance backing. So yeah, at the moment there's like, I don't know. Hopefully that answers your question. I don't know. I'm hesitant to say like an exact weekly thing, but there's a dedicated team for TauFi and for Subnet 10 that, is solely focused on that project.
Nice. And for SN10, what's your biggest challenge or bottleneck at the moment then?
Yeah, I think it's just getting new users on board and excited about Bittensor. It's kind of in some ways, it's an easy pitch. I think users are excited about AI, but it's also challenging when you look at one, complexity, and two, price action. Like a lot of users that aren't super sophisticated will just look at the chart and be like, okay, I'm not interested in this ecosystem. And so that's why I think our near-term focus has just been on distribution, integrations, business development, and getting our API and smart contracts onto more platforms, so that when the time comes, we are in a much better position to onboard more users from other chains.
And I have no idea actually. Maybe you do. How do you get a ticker on TradingView? So how do you get, say, ridges on TradingView? Is that something you can help with, or is that completely out of your remit?
No, yeah, it's definitely possible. I know that Tau Stats led the charge for some like coin market cap, I think. So yeah, that's doable for sure. And our focus within that, of course, is like how do we get our API or smart contracts embedded like within that page, and that can be a little bit more challenging just because they might not support the Bittensor or Bittensor EVM chains. And so that just poses a bit of a challenge for some of the integrations.
Because I do know quite a lot of bigger investors who, weirdly, their demographic they're all Gen X, but their loose mentality is like, oh, wait a minute, this ticker is not on TradingView. It's going to be a shit coin. Nah, not interested. And so with stuff like that, you have to go to like Dex Screener or Gecko Terminal or stuff like that. And so it would be handy, like if you could have that because obviously you're doing a pairing, shoots versus USDC. If you could try and get that pairing on TradingView, I think that would help a little bit. But
Yeah, it's tricky because most of these they only support, they want the canonical pool, right, as we do. So we want, they operate like based on dexes. So you need to add the dex itself. In this case, the dex is the like OTF canonical dex that lives on Bittensor, which does not follow any existing standard. It's not like the UniV3 code, even though it's the UniV3 mechanics. And so that's like it's pretty challenging to get that integration with some of these partners. But yeah, it's something we've worked on in the past and like tried to push forward. And I think there will be a renewed effort to do so soon.
and I mean, is there any way that DSV or Mark and I could help with, like, how could we help you?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, a lot of what you do with spreading the word is great. I think that's what we need more of. Certainly spreading the word to new people and new ecosystems as well. So we've started partnering with different influencers and KOLs and other uh, ecosystems, let's call it, who are excited about Bittensor and want their audiences to feel the same way. And they can use our product, of course, as the way to onboard users, since they don't have to stray from the tools that they already use.
Fair enough.
On that question of kind of bringing eyeballs into Bittensor, there's a question that Siam and I asked on Monday's revenue search of Shack of Ridges, which was with revenue search. I think we get a lot of eyeballs. I mean, there were over 3,000 people watching that AMA with Shack on Monday. But what this ecosystem needs is eyeballs from outside Bittensor watching it. So we asked Shack if we could have one guest on revenue search that would bring those eyeballs in. Who do you think it was? And Shack thought that Barry Silbert would be the right answer, and that we should try everything we can to get Barry on. What do you think? Do you think Barry's the right answer?
That's a good answer. I mean, you want someone that bridges the two worlds, right? That has great name recognition just in crypto as a whole, but that's also really excited about Bittensor. I think, yeah, he that would be a really good fit, since he does have so much. He's so well known and respect for the outside, just in crypto as a whole, and obviously has a ton of conviction on Bittensor itself. Yeah, it's hard for me to think of a better fit, I think, off the top of my head.
So we're going for Barry.
And I haven't really done any DeFi stuff since the rebasing DAO stuff in 2021. Like, what questions should Mark and I be asking you, which we haven't? Like, are there any questions we like obvious questions we should be asking you, which we're just?
I think you've just stumbled upon a real revenue search cheek.
Well,
We'll get a guest to tell us the questions, and then all review and
yeah, no, I think you asked a lot of good ones. I mean, asking about the risk is always really important. Bridges and just any kind of like cross-chain interaction is extremely complex, and so it's good to ask about that and to understand what that looks like. In our case, we've sort of outsourced the interchain communication. This is like when you see a big bridge hack, it's almost always the same thing. It's always that someone spoofs a call from one chain that says, "Send me all your tokens from this other chain." We didn't want to build that. Every time like there's an independent sort of third party bootstrapped bridge, it tends to end the same way. And so that's why we worked with Hyperlane. They're an existing provider. They've done a million different audits on all of their code. And so for all the cross-chain communication, they handle that. And so we just build on top of them. I think that is probably the biggest risk in our product, and for any product like ours, is the bridge. And so that's why for us, I think it made a lot more sense to go with a trusted provider, as opposed to trying to build it ourselves.
Okay, so for the average detail holder, like we all naturally like to mentally pigeonhole a subnet, shoots, inference and compute, and so we have Void AI on, I don't know, last month. Like, how would you pigeonhole SN10 and how would you pigeonhole Void? Because you do similar-ish things, ish.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're both, I think, looking to onboard more users to Bittensor. So if you think about sort of, cross chain, getting new users on board, there's focus on the products. I think, for SN10 itself, if you just look at the subnet in isolation and not the products around it, it's really more about liquidity. And so like you could talk about 77, and subnets like that. That's sort of like, just in the narrowest view of just the subnet itself. Yeah, I think both of those are kind of apt, because there is like, yes, the core subnet code is purely concerned with liquidity, but what is that liquidity towards? What are the ends? It's ultimately to onboard more users to Bittensor. and particularly from other ecosystems. So I think it sort of is at the intersection of those two.
Yeah. Same boat, paddling in the same direction. Like with a lot of, yeah. What do you do for fun? What's your guilty pleasure when you're not like,
Yeah. Yeah, well, I like jujitsu. Lately have been just like going to the gym more than that because I've been kind of low on time. Uh, but yeah, that's always a lot of fun. And I live in San Francisco, and so I like to. There's so many like nice natural areas around here to go to and to visit. So 30-45 minute trip. So that's always nice.
I thought you were going to say I need to learn jujitsu to defend myself from all the crack zombies in SF.
Yeah, yeah, that's funny.
How long have you been doing BJJ for?
A tiny bit in college. So yeah, at the very like end of school, I was doing it, and then have been doing it like on and off in the few years that I've lived here.
Ah, nice. Yeah, it's one of the things I force my kids to do. So like I'm a massive believer of like okay, forcing kids is probably the wrong word, but like I like force multiplier activities. So like I make them both do gymnastics and BJJ. One for the martial arts because it breeds self-respect, confidence, respect for others, all that sort of stuff. And martial artists are less likely to have fights on the street than those that don't. And obviously like with the gymnastics, the hand-eye, foot, limb, body coordination and all that sort of stuff. And then you can do sports much easier and better. But there's a sad side tangent which I didn't expect to share today. But anyway,
Sam, what is the thing, if anything, that you do with Subnet 10 that you are surprised that other subnets don't do because it's such an obvious thing for you, or something smart that you see other subnets doing, or a subnet doing that you think, well, yeah, everyone should be doing?
Yeah, well, I'll be selfish and answer for ourselves. I would say abstracting away the miner process for so many subnets, and I know because uh, over Thanksgiving 2 years ago, I started mining a few out of curiosity. But for so many subnets, it's really challenging to register as a miner. In some, there's so much friction that the most challenging part about the subnet is just understanding like how to get started, and particularly for users who are new to Bittensor, how to take all the steps that you need to set up a wallet and register. So for us, as I mentioned, miners and liquidity providers, we've merged that category. By providing liquidity, you are automatically a miner. We run this backend service that distributes the alpha to you. And so I think that is a big one that I'd love to see more something to do is just automatically enroll users as miners, provided that they take the action that you want to incentivize.
Yeah, that's a real trick, isn't it? If your customers are spending money without knowing that they are using Bittensor, if your users are mining without understanding the ins and outs of Bittensor, then the magic box remains a secret, and no one needs to understand everything that happens inside because that's complicated. But yeah, reducing that friction,
do
smart.
you have a do you have like a
Simon,
dashboard that shows the fees and revenue coming in? Like with Liam, they have like a Grafana where you can see the dollars per hour, etc. Do you have one of them?
Yep. So you can go to taofi.com/pool to see the 24-hour and all-time statistics. But I think that's not as descriptive as it could be. And so we're working on a proper dashboard that actually shows just, straight line. Here is what the revenue is on any given day. And that way you can search since launch and see all of that statistics. There is like a GraphQL. So if you're a developer, something that you can access and check there. But yeah, again, that's not optimal, and I think it'll be much better when we have this dashboard that lets you see that basically like a Grafana, sort of all of the statistics over time, any period that you want to search for.
Okay, so if you're stumping up some USDC here, I guess I'm taking to first glance, the blue stuff is really where all the action is, where you're going to get used.
So the blue stuff, if you see there is that range that presets right now, you're on the -5%, +5% preset. That means that as long as the price goes within, as long as it doesn't fall more than 5% or rise more than 5%, your liquidity is in range. If you play around with the presets and it like +10%, -10%, you'll see the blue expand. But yeah, right now it's showing the -5% plus 5% liquidity range on the pool.
And would you recommend people that's where all the action is for your USDC?
Well, it depends on what you think will happen with Tau, right? If you think there's going to be a lot of volatility and you're not going to actively manage it, then you might want to do a wider range. If you are comfortable checking it, every couple days and, manually moving your fees, then, a tighter range might make sense. Generally, you want the range to be tight, meaning it to be very small, but you don't want the price to fall outside that range. So it's sort of a game of keeping your liquidity on top of the current price. And a lot of people are now doing this just with bots, which I think is smart, but it's, generally possible to still do manually and do well.
Nice. So hypothetically, let's say Tau does like some massive bull candle and it's, it's in a few months time, whatever, and it spikes up and it's a massive green thing. If you're a liquidity provider here, would and people are going to sell Tau to take profits, etc., would it then be in your best interest just to put all of your weight on the negative side?
Yes. Yeah. I think if you think that there's going to be that negative pressure, then having it skewed at least towards the negative side makes sense. Ideally, you still want some on the current price itself, but absolutely, you can sort of express an opinion on the direction that you think it will go in, with your liquidity provisioning.
Okay, and can we quickly talk about this borrow function that you have here?
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff that Taofy is doing that I didn't get the opportunity to discuss. This is unrelated to SN10. Just want to be clear about that. But yeah, correct, not related to Subnet 10.
Okay, and who's doing? Whose train set is this then?
So this is still like part of the Taofy world. It's also part of the Sturdy protocol that's kind of what the base layer is, but yeah, not part of Subnet 10. And you can use this to borrow against your root staked Tau, or you can deposit USDC and earn interest.
Nice. Okay. Well, I think we'll have to. Who's the main person for the borrow function of Taofy? You or someone else?
Yeah, that's us.
It's still you. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but not part of the. Yeah, that's why I mentioned there's like a couple things that Taofy has been doing and working on. Subnet 10, though, specifically focused around this liquidity and the pool.
Well, I think we should get you.
I know it's complicated.
Oh, sorry. There's a lag there.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think we should get you back again for another revenue search to talk about all the other stuff Taofy does.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think we're building a couple of really neat things. And yeah, excited to share all of those. But I think most excited about what the subnet is doing. To me, that is sort of the flagship core feature that Taofy has been working towards.
One question really on what's coming up is the halving. What's your take on that? Is that going to impact your subnet? Do you think what do you think the fallout from that is going to be? If any?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to impact every subnet to some degree. I know there are a few proposals going around. I will be adding an idea that I have. It's not as time sensitive. It doesn't need to happen before the halving, but I have a thesis about alpha emissions and alpha emissions into the liquidity pools and ways that we can reduce tens of millions in sell pressure on alpha, a very, very straightforward way. So yeah, I'm working on kind of writing that up now. I haven't had a ton of time, but I think that there's some very quick wins that can be had potentially for the alpha tokenomics. And yeah, excited to get those out there.
Interesting. Like how soon do you think you'll get some sort of clarification on this new way? I only ask because next week I've got a one-to-one with Massiej. I can never say his name. What's it?
Yeah,
is it Massiej?
I know what you're talking about. I'm not sure. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm writing up it's very simple to understand. It's more about the technical implications and what the development requirements would be. But yeah, I think that people who are like very familiar with the way that alpha emissions work, and also understand Uniswap v3, which is the protocol for the the alpha liquidity pools. They'll get it pretty quickly.
Well, we're interested in those. That's halving is a catalyst for upheaval and change and excitement. We know there are subnet owners jockeying for position, really. Working on that as a milestone that they're working towards for various things. So it's interesting to see what it will bring. So yeah, interested to see what when you've got some time to write it, what you've got to say on the matter.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Looking forward to getting it out there.
Cool. A couple of questions I've just seen come in. Do you mind if I show them before we?
Yeah, go for it.
One has said, so Ashik, so are they using SN10 emissions to support the dev on the Sturdy token? As a new
No, 100% of the SN10 emissions, are going towards what I talked about.
Are you the same team behind Kinitro?
No.
Cool. And then Vito has since many subnet owners have shared their opinions on the matter, what does he think about the impact? Mark just asked that. Cool. I think we've covered it all.
Well, then our work here is done. Thanks, Sam. That's been enlightening.
Yeah, well, anytime. It's great to finally be on. I've watched so many of these, and I just want to wait for kind of the right moment when we had all of the important information public, which I think most of it is at this point. So it was great to be here, and appreciate all the great questions.
Oh, amazing.
Well, thank you. Hopefully we'll get Barry Silbert on one day, and then we'll get even more eyeballs on this little podcast. But yeah, come back on when you're ready. That's what we're here for.
All right, sounds great.
But that's gonna win. Thanks very much.
Cheerio.